At CVS Health Hub, you can see a provider, fill a prescription, and grab what you need, all in one trip, even on evenings and weekends. That's healthier made easier. Visit a CVS Health Hub today. Services vary by location. See cvs.com/healthhub for details.
To close on Friday, what then? I'm Kate Ryan.
The sanity trial begins for the Capital Gazette newsroom killer. I'm Megan Cloherty.
Voting early is getting even easier in Virginia. I'm Nick Einelli.
Good morning. It's now 7 o'clock.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Wendy Gillette. Every day that passes gets more challenging for the more than 150 families waiting for answers after an apartment building collapsed in South Florida. Derek Latta attended a vigil last night.
Trying to do the best we can. Set a good example to be strong.
The death toll stands at 11. Laura Podesta has more on reports of problems in the building.
It's still unclear what caused the 40-year-old condo to fall. An engineer's report from 2018 showed failed waterproofing was causing major structural damage to a concrete slab. Former maintenance manager William Espinoza says the building was often flooded by salt water coming up through the foundation.
It was so much water all the time that the pumps never could keep up with it.
A contractor who visited the building just 36 hours before the collapse, he noted cracking concrete and severely corroded rebar under the swimming pool. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
116 degrees in Portland, Oregon, 108 in Seattle. Those highs yesterday shattered records in the city.
This is not normal for Seattle. I feel for a lot of Seattleites and a lot of Washingtonians because, man, they're not used to this. It's rough when you're not used to it.
Health officials in Los Angeles want people to mask up again indoors. CBS's Monica Ricks explains why.
Even though most COVID restrictions have been lifted in LA County, the Department of Public Health is seeing an uptick in COVID cases with Delta variants causing nearly half of all new infections. That's why health officials want people to wear masks inside again, regardless of vaccination status.
It's slow going for those who have applied for legal status as part of DACA. Correspondent Lisa Mateo.
Newly released government data reveals about 50,000 young immigrants have applied for deportation relief under the DACA policy since the program was reopened in December, but many have been left waiting in the wings. Agency statistics reveal that between January and March, less than 800 immigrants had their first-time applications approved.
The USCIS blames the pandemic and a rise in the number of petitions for the delays. A federal judge in Washington dismissed antitrust lawsuits against Facebook filed by a group of state attorneys general and the Federal Trade Commission. CNET's Ian Shore.
Now, the judge has said that the government can refile its case, but it's very clear that this is not going to be open and shut. There's going to be a lot of debate about how we define antitrust in the modern age and what it looks like to punish a tech company.
Shore says part of the issue with an antitrust case is that it's difficult to prove harm against consumers. Futures are mixed this morning. Dow futures are up 47 points. This is CBS News.
Never miss a moment. Top news from WTOP 24/7, 365. Listen on air, on Alexa, and on the WTOP app.
7:03 now, and it's your Tuesday morning, the 29th of June. Sweltering heat. It'll be humid today as well, and our high temps around 95. Good morning. I'm Joan Jones.
And I'm Bruce Allen. Here are the top stories we're following for you this hour. New evidence this morning of how the coronavirus vaccines are really working to end the pandemic. Cases continue to drop throughout the region. But in Maryland, it's unvaccinated people who now make up a majority of recent deaths. State leaders say it reinforces the need for all eligible residents to get the shot.
When looking at the numbers, 1.4 million Marylanders 12 and up aren't vaccinated and face serious risks. They also make up 97% of all new cases and 89% of deaths and hospitalizations.
So it's very sobering statistics. And if you're unvaccinated, you're also susceptible to the highly contagious Delta variant.
Health Secretary Dennis Schrader, speaking with lawmakers, says the focus now is reaching unvaccinated residents through community-based efforts and incentives.
And we're not going to slow down or stop until we get as many people vaccinated as possible.
Melissa Howell, WTOP News.
And a recent analysis by the Associated Press found that what's happening in Maryland is representative of the national trend. Across the U.S., fewer than 1% of new cases and deaths last month were among fully vaccinated people.
Montgomery County fought to get a mass vaccination site, and now as 2/3 of that county's population has been fully vaccinated, the mass vaccination site is going to close.
Montgomery County's mass vaccination site in Germantown opened at the end of March. Now, just months later, with nearly 2/3 of the county's population having gotten at least one dose of the coronavirus vaccine, the site on the Germantown campus of Montgomery College will be closing.
We're making that transition. The Montgomery College site will shut down on July 2nd, Friday, and the new site will open up at the Up County Regional Service Center on Tuesday, July the 6th, after the holiday.
Dr. Earl Stoddard, the director of the county's Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, said the decision was to shift those appointments to the smaller Up County Services Center on Middlebrook Road. Kate Ryan, WTOP News.
3 years after Jared Ramos shot his way past a security door and killed 5 people inside the Capital Gazette newsroom, a trial begins today to decide whether Ramos should be held criminally responsible.
The trial begins today for Jared Ramos, who admitted guilt in 2019 to the June 2018 attack on the Capital Gazette newsroom, where he killed 5 people. Victims' families joined city leaders in dedicating a memorial to them yesterday on the 3-year anniversary, but will soon learn if Ramos was sane at the time. Because it is a trial to determine criminal responsibility, the burden of proof is on the defense, which will present its case first following opening arguments. Megan Cloherty, WTOP News.
Virginia's governor has signed a series of bills that involve elections, and it's aimed at making it easier for people to vote early.
We cannot take civil rights, especially voting rights, for granted.
During the early voting period ahead of elections, polling places can now be open on Sundays, and first-time voters will be allowed to register for an absentee ballot through the mail. Those are among changes signed by Governor Ralph Northam.
Sometimes we don't think about what goes on behind the scenes to how we make these elections happen, how they're done safely and responsibly in Virginia.
Another change Northam signed off on clarifies that any voter with a physical disability or injury is entitled to vote outside of their polling place. Nick Hine, WTOP News.
Coming up, D.C. fire officials need your help locating an arsonist. 7:07.
Are you thinking about refinancing your home, but worried that closing costs could cancel out any money you'd save? Not with Cap Center's zero closing cost mortgages.
This is our 6th time using Cap Center. The quality of service was excellent, and the savings were substantial.
Cap your closing costs. Visit capcenter.com. Equal housing lender. Visit capcenter.com for rates, savings, and offer limitations. This ad contains real client feedback voiced by actors. NMLS ID 67717. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Today's Innovation in Government report highlights the government's IT modernization opportunities. Sudhakar Ramakrishna, the president and CEO of SolarWinds, says agency and industry leaders must look at every cyber threat or incident as an opportunity to improve.
In every experience, whether it's a bug or a security breach, there is something to be learned that will fortify what we can do going forward to make it that much more difficult.
From earaches to strep tests, there's MinuteClinic at CVS. See a provider, fill a prescription, and grab essentials. Or see us online with telehealth options. That's healthier made easier. Visit MinuteClinic at CVS today. Services vary by location. See MinuteClinic.com for details.
At Total Wine & More, we know what pairs perfectly with summer. Go ahead, test us.
What goes best with a beach trip?
This crisp rosé.
A pool party?
Try these craft beers.
Oh, you're good.
Wondrous selection, helpful guides, ridiculously low prices. Total Wine & More.